Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here bringing you guys an old school album review, and we're going to be talking about an album from, well, one of my personal favorite bands, and today is this album's 30th anniversary. And as you clearly see below the title, today we're going to be looking into State of Euphoria by Anthrax, my copy, which was signed by Scott Ian. This is the band's fourth album, released on September 19th, 1988, through Megaforce Records. Now, of course, this album is the follow-up to, of course, my favorite album of Anthrax, which is Being Among the Living. But with State of Euphoria compared to Among the Living, I feel like Among the Living was kind of a bit more darker, a little bit. I feel like this one, has that a little bit, but also has more of a lighter approach to it in terms of like the songwriting and everything. I think it's just like kind of like the gets you going and all that stuff. I feel like it's sort of like the vibe I get with the songs on this album. Vocally, Joey Belladonna just sounds really good. The guitar work from Scott Ian and Dan Spitz is just really great. The riffs that they come up with, and sort of like Dan's like shredding is great. The bass playing from Frank Bello is pretty audible. You could definitely hear it well in the mix. And Charlie Benante's drumming is just sick as always. In my opinion, a very underrated drummer. Well, that's just me. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now the album opens up with Be All End All. It begins with a pretty main catchy riff, which is played on like sort of like a silent violin, which is kind of like different from the previous Anthrax albums before that. But then the guitars and drums explode and the song gets to speed ahead. And then the main riff repeats itself a bit, then the verse comes in, and the riffing follows the vocals consistently, sounds very heavy, but still has a little bit of a melodic sense to it. But the chorus is amazing, and I sort of like how Joey sings like the opening main riff, and the riff fits perfectly to the actual riffs and stuff. Blech. I keep saying riff a bunch, but anyway. The lead guitar is also doing a pretty good job here, and the song continues to build up with the whole 6 minutes of it with a bunch of heavy riffs and catchy melodies. Very intense track, and I think it's a great way to start this album. Next on the album is called Out of Sight, Out of Mind, which is another highlight on the album. It opens up with a kick-ass, catchy riff and has another melodic yet very thrashy chorus. The C part is also pretty badass, and this song flows pretty well with great riffing and intensive drumming. Make Me Laugh opens with a pretty heavy and moderate riff, then it settles down. The verses sound a little bit weird at the first listen to it, but they are pretty sweeping, has a very well melody, and again another top-notch chorus which steps in an incredible song. The lead guitar sounds a bit rushed, but overall it fits alright, sort of like in the middle of it. Next song is called Antisocial, which is actually a cover song originally done by a French band called Trust, which I believe was the band that Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden was in before he was in, but that's another story for another time. Anyway, this cover is actually really good. It almost feels like it's pretty punkish with riffing of very flowing verses, and the chorus is very awesome, very catchy. And I thought this was actually an original done by Anthrax because it sounds sort of very natural for them, but the song itself is really good. I really enjoyed this a lot. Who Cares Wins, which the song starts with sort of like a half electric acoustic intro that doesn't have sort of like a melodic feel to it, but then the rest of the band kicks in and plays along with the acoustic. The chorus is better than the verses, and the solos are good. This is one of the longest songs on here, which is like a little over 7.5 minute solo bit, which can get a little bit boring in a while, but I think it's alright. Now It's Dark, which has some good double bass drums, and the verse is good and the chorus is fine. And in there, Schism, which actually starts off with some very fast drumming, and the main riff is catchy, but it kind of sounds a little bit odd for some reason. And it's a good structure and has good tempo, and a very good chorus and verses. Then we go into Misery Loves Company, which has a shredding opening riff and has a good verse and chorus, but the song kind of feels a little bit bumpy, and the main riff has a little bit of an odd feel to it. And the chorus is catchy, but I feel like, honest, that the solo itself on that song is really done. Then we go into, I guess, sort of like the interlude, which is 13, which is less than a minute long. Has a little bass line and falls to the drums, which, I don't know, it just feels kind of weird and out of place for that, but yeah. And then we go into the last song, which is ironically appropriately titled Finale. And the intro kind of sounds oddly like a train starting up, and the main riff starts. And this is like the thrashiest song on the album. Starts with with a shredding riff, and later the thrash drums kind of enter. I think it's a solid way to end this album. Now, overall, State of Euphoria, yeah, is another solid addition to Anthrax's discography. But yeah, if I were to give this a score, I'd probably give this probably a solid 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. But yeah, that's my review of State of Euphoria, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. See you all in the next video. Keep it metal.